Hello, all you Wookiee warriors. How's it going? So, in this video, I'm going to be going over God of War Ragnarok. I'm going to try to go as spoiler free as I possibly can in this review, but there might be some spoilers that arise. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about is graphics. How much did the game change from 2018 to 2022? To God of War Ragnarok. And I'm gonna tell you, it really, graphically, it doesn't really change, and there are slight improvements. Mainly, I feel within details in the characters, like their facial animations, their facial features, more so along those lines, but not a whole lot of things changed graphically since 2018. Just like I said, I think just a little bit of tweaking. Made certain things brighter, fleshed out the colors a little bit more. But there's really wasn't much in the realm of graphically of improvements from 2018. Um, but the game absolutely looks fantastic. I should tell you that. The next thing I think we'll talk about is combat. Has combat changed? Yes and no. The reason I say yes, because there are certain things in combat that have changed from 2018, from God of War Ragnarok. For instance, you do get a new weapon. I'm not going to tell you what weapon it is, unless you guys discover that in the game. There are some rune abilities that you get for Leviathan X and Chaos that you won't get till the very end of the game. Some of the abilities do return. There are some new abilities. Like for instance, the Leviathan Beam ability does come back. The Chaos where you plunge the daggers down and it goes. There's a fire barrage. I think that does come back. It's just you find those later on in the game in the legendary chest. If you're thinking about like resource gathering, it's still the same system where you have to find red chests. There's not very much left in red chests, I noticed, except for materials. There's no armor pieces in the red chests, which kind of makes them just like your only source of resources. But there is an addition to the game for that. You can go to the blacksmith, and they do actually sell resources to you. Whether it's limited supply or infinite, like if you buy it out and then you come back after a little while and then it'll be back. I don't know. I didn't really test that feature because I had enough resources on standby. I didn't really need to use that. Again, we're still talking about gameplay and combat. If you look at Atreus, his abilities have changed a little bit from the first game. I noticed he does get his own rage mode. I'll let you guys discover that, see what his rage mode is like in the game. I'm not going to spoil it here. But I'm just going to say he does get his own rage. His bow, for instance, he gets some new abilities. One, we don't get the lightning arrows anymore. We get sonic arrows and we get purple arrows. Which I'm sorry, the purple arrows are like vine arrows or something like that. I would say just vine. You can shoot them at something, and you can use the Leviathan axe to freeze it for a short amount of time, or you can use the chaos weapon to burn away certain vines or certain things, or light braziers. But that's really it. You don't get any much more. Like if you remember in, well, I think we only got two abilities in the first game too. I think it was light arrows and lightning arrows. Um, but you don't get the same animal abilities that you got in the first game. Like Atreus would get like mice that would run around, or you get wolves that would do like a barrage, or you would get like deer that would come and help you, like a couple of deer that come and help you. You still get the deer, but it's more like you get one, and it's one he actually gets on top of it and kind of smacks all the enemies around him. The wolves actually you get wolves, but they're not so much like they're gonna be stagger locking the enemies. It's more like they'll do damage, but the enemy can move and get out of there. Um, Trying to think. Also, Atreus does get new other abilities as well. He can change. They're not animal like I just talked about. They are like you can shoot up the arrow in the air and you can create like a arrow storm, or you can um take like a single arrow and do like a sniper shot. Um, so there are those abilities. Kind of giving Atreus a little bit more in his arsenal than just the limited what we had in the first game. He definitely feels a little bit more involved than he was in the first game. I mean, if you think about it, like the first game, we had to carry him up a mountain on our backs. We had to really kind of protect him, and now Atreus is older. He's actually a little bit more able to protect himself. And there are points in the game where we take on, we play as Atreus, and we see a little bit more of how he can handle himself in situations. Um, so we talked about graphics. Like I said, graphically, the game hasn't changed. It's just improvements, mostly. I would say mostly. Um, we talked about combat, gameplay. Puzzles are definitely a wealth. I found them very fun, very unique. It even got me scratching my head a little bit on some of them. Like, how do I get through this? How do I get through this? And finally, I figure it out, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. Um, I figured it out. Yeah. Um, but even though puzzles in the game have changed massively since the first game, but they have changed them enough that it does get the players to scratch their head and think, like, how do I get through this? They get stumped for a moment. Kind of like the Grinch. I got stuck for a moment, and he still climbed down the rest of his chimney. Um, Side stories. I felt that there was less side missions than there were in God of War 2018, because if you think about it, like there was just like nonstop. It's like, oh, go do this. Oh, and do this. Oh, I need this done. Oh, do this and I'll give you this. There wasn't a lot of that in God of War Ragnarok. Probably because a lot of the people were off hiding or trying to stay warm because of Fimbulwinter. Um, which that's pretty much where we start out in the game. Is we're starting off with everything in Fimbulwinter. Everything is now cold. I mean, if you remember in the 2018, Brock was saying that it started feeling colder. It started feeling like winter. Um, Story wise, I absolutely loved the story. Just like I did 2018's. I found myself constantly intrigued, wanting to know more what's going on. The story kept me engaged. You definitely see a lot of character developments between Atreus, Kratos, Sindri, Brock, Freya, and a lot of the other characters that are introduced to you throughout the story, you see developments in their characters as well. Um, we visit a lot of the other realms, such as Vedheim, Sniffelheim, um, Asgard. A few of the ones that we weren't able to visit in the previous game. Sniffelheim was actually kind of funny for me because, uh, you're taking the guy that's the big guy Kratos, and he's having to traverse this area, and everything around him, even the house down to the houses, look small to him. Like he could just go like this and just rip it down. So it's really funny seeing this big guy get around this area that's mainly built for dwarves. Um, like when he goes into a tunnel, the tunnel would look so small that you like, how did this guy fit in this place? And then we're like, and so you see actually some of the other realms change because of Fimbulwinter, like what their realms are going through because of this. Like we go to Alfheim, and we see, a massive, change in Alfheim, where it was before like greenery, water, and all that. It's changed from that. And some places, got more humid, or they've gotten more warmer. They've gotten colder. Fimbulwinter has affected the realms in many different ways. So I really appreciate that because it made the world feel more alive. In bosses, I'm going to talk about that here. They replaced the Valkyries with a new boss enemy, which is called Berserkers. And I always say they are a massive challenge. Like I even tried getting like, oh, what's this? I twist the key and I got my butt handed to me. I died instantly. So you're not supposed to fight them right away, but you can, but you're not supposed to. Because I think I was fighting like one of the weaker ones, and I still died pretty instantly. So it encourages you to level up. Like I level up. I don't think I even attempted one until I was like level 6, level 7, and towards the end I was like level 8, and I started doing all the berserker fights, and it was hard. It was punishing, especially when they changed it up to where you have to fight 2 of them, or in one case, 3. That's what I was like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to do this? They wrecked me. But it was basically, even though you're fighting 3 of them, 2 of them were sharing a health bar. So that once you figured that out, and you started figuring out like the moves and which ones were more, how they were aggressive, how they were handling things, you could definitely manage it. At least it took me like 4 or 5 tries to beat them. And something I really appreciate about the Berserkers, because you could technically go from all of the Valkyrie fights all the way to the Valkyrie Queen without actually beating the game. You can practically do it right off the bat. That was the funny thing. And this one, you cannot. No matter what you do, you cannot fight the last Berserker until you have beaten the game. So I really appreciate that, because that was a little bit kind of ridiculous that we can pretty much go out, beat the bosses, the end game bosses, all before you finish the game. But in this one, you actually have to beat the game to get to the last one. So I really do appreciate that. We also get the ravens again, and collecting the ravens, you get new gear, runes. There's If you guys remember in 2018, you have these 18 chests in Baldi's Maze, which we don't get sadly in this one, which is I kind of liked the Baldi's Maze because it was like a challenge, just getting from one point to the other before you get poisoned. I like that. Um, but it takes place in Niflheim. Um, you can technically go and do practice, practice your move sets on Draugrs that are very weak, just to practice your moves on if you wanted to. But you go to the end of the path, you see this massive tree with all these yellow birds on it. It's the ravens. And each one of these chests, you have to have collected or destroyed a certain amount of ravens. Well, in the first game, you had to collect a certain amount of resources to open those chests. Like I think it was like realm terrors or something like that. You had to defeat all the realm terrors to get that. So they kind of took that and just changed it up a little bit. And I liked it because, it made the ravens a little bit more engaging, a little bit to go through and get the ravens, not just for an achievement or just like, I did it, whatever. That's kind of what it felt like. You had 50 ravens, I think, in the first game, and they didn't feel like you got anything for it. You got some lore, and that was about, and then trophy free, and that's about it. Where in God of War Ragnarok, there's a tangible goal. You want to open all these chests, you want to get the gear, you want to get the stuff in there, so you have to go and get all these ravens. So I really liked that they included that into the game, where the ravens weren't just kind of like a throwaway or add-in. We do get Muspelheim. There are challenges in there, and they are tough. So if you guys are looking for a challenge when you play God of War, I would definitely recommend doing that. Probably not like right off the bat. Probably level up a bit first before you do them. But then there's the story. The story is absolutely again amazing. The game itself, when you're playing the game, the story progresses in a very meaningful way. Definitely brings out more of the characters. You see more development within the characters. Kratos, Atreus, Sindri, Brock, Freya, and a lot of the other characters that get introduced to you throughout the story. You see developments in their stories. You definitely get heartbreaking moments, tears at the heartstrings. But the story also is very engaging. Like, you want to know what happens next. We are also introduced to new tools and a weapon per character for both Atreus and Kratos. No, just Kratos. But I'm not gonna spoil what it is. That's something I would prefer you guys go in and play the game or find out on your own. There are some other characters that actually do return for a moment, and you get to just interact with them. Then there's Atreus. This kind of goes into the combat a little bit more, but Atreus, can't remember if I actually talked about it in this video. Atreus does get his own rage mode, in which he turns into a wolf and a bear. But you don't actually take control of him in terms of bear mode, except for one time, which I'll let you guys discover what time that is. When we rage, we mainly just become a wolf. Who knows? Maybe in a future DLC. I don't know. I don't know if they would actually come out with a DLC where you can take control of him as a bear. But who knows? I think I talked about puzzles. Talked about gameplay. Talked about combat abilities. Vehicles. We get two main vehicles in the game, which is a boat and sled-driven vehicles, which is driven by the dogs. At first, I felt they were a little janky, but I think that's because you come from playing God of War 2018. The boat is actually more slow paced. If you think about it, you don't really have a lot of speed when you're going through the boat. But in terms of this game, the camera is a little bit further away, and the boat seems a little bit faster. So it definitely it threw me for a loop for a little bit. But once I got on the boat more, on the sleds more, I got a little bit better at them. You can still tactically take the camera and zoom in, but you have to hold down the button for that, and I there's really no point in doing that. Not to mention, you want the camera far away so you can actually see kind of the things that are going around you. Boss fights all felt epic to me. I absolutely love them. Some of the quests actually, to me, I love the fact that they were epic. That's probably why I think we got less, because the side quests actually felt more fuller. Sorry about that. My sister's cats are arguing. Of course, I wait till I'm making a video to start arguing, right? But that's why I think the side missions were less than we did in previous games. They're a little bit more epic. There was more involved than the side quests. I'm not saying the side quests there was less involved in 2018. I'm saying that because of the side quests, the ones that you go on, they're massive in a way, which I think is why. I mean, the closest comparison I can come in 2018 is when you did the dragons and you freed the dragons. That was massive. That was epic. But they kind of cranked that dial up a little bit when they came with these side quests. So you do have like kind of the more mundane kind of side quests, like defeat this many enemies, do this. But the ones that stick in my mind are the ones that are like you free something, or you fight an epic boss. And there are plenty of bosses or enemies. Some enemies actually feel like bosses, which I do appreciate because it makes the game a little bit more challenging. And you have to adjust, your gameplay, your game style. I wouldn't say style, but the way you play the game when you have to fight certain enemies. For like if you're fighting more of an animalistic kind of boss, sometimes you'd have to like, okay, this one's this way, this one has this element, so you have to kind of work, try to figure out his attacks patterns. You have to figure out what works, and I really appreciate that in this game because it keeps the player engaged. It keeps me engaged. I think that's really about it for the review. I mean, the gameplay pretty solid. I think I came across maybe like one like bug. And I think it fixed itself. Like I think I ended up having to reload a previous save or something like that, and it fixed. I don't remember what it was specifically because I'm making this review a few days after I beat the game. I'm sorry, guys. I just got kind of swamped. But I think there wasn't really like anything that was that groundbreaking. Like I've seen reviews. I'm lucky I didn't get any of these because there was like there were glitches where people actually went through the floor. There were glitches where it actually broke the game, and I'm like, wow, I'm really lucky because I was playing this like a day after launch, one day after launch. But not really to me. Like on my playthrough, there wasn't really a lot of glitches or bugs that really broke the game or my immersion in the game. Just a few that popped up here and there, but nothing massive. Um, what would I give this game? I'd hands down 10 out of 10. Absolutely fantastic game. If you're into, if you love God of War or if you're into RPGs, action adventure, I recommend this game highly to you guys. Who you guys are looking for a game to hold you over until maybe one of the games are coming out next year, and like say Forspoken or something like that. You guys want something to play until that game is released. This game will definitely hold you over. I can't recommend this game enough. Also, guys, I'm going to be doing something new in this video, on this review. Let me know how you guys like it. If you guys like what I did in the review, I will definitely put this in more reviews, because I do have another review on the pipeline. I will be doing a Sonic Frontiers review as soon as I finish Sonic Frontiers, which at the moment I am absolutely loving. It's fun. I do have. I know I need to get on doing more reviews. Like I don't know. I don't think I did a Neo 2 review. I don't think I've done a lot of reviews, and I apologize to you guys for that. It's just I kind of gotten busy. But as we get, as things are starting to kind of level out, I'm going to be kind of trying to focus more on getting some reviews out for you guys. But yeah, just let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of the review. How did you guys, have you guys played God of War? How did you guys enjoy it? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and comments down below on what you guys thought of the review, what you guys thought of the game. Have you played the game? And what you guys thought about the new edit I did for the video. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all on our next adventure. Till next time, see ya.